I propose a question in the House to now adjourn to call the honourable member for Ryan.
Thank you, Mr Deputy Speaker. I rise tonight to congratulate Vanuatu on their recent successful election on the 22nd of January. The President of Vanuatu invited the Commonwealth Secretariat to send an observers group, and I was honoured to be invited to join with very experienced colleagues from literally across the Commonwealth. We were led by the Right Honourable Hubert Ingraham, the former Prime Minister of the Bahamas, Walter Rigamoto from Fiji, Jessica Nakui from Uganda, who's a Member of Parliament and indeed in the middle of her own election, and Enrico Woolford from Guyana, who joined me on Tanna during the election process. I also pay tribute to the Vanuatu Electoral Commission because it literally was a logistics challenge. With 65 of Vanuatu's 83 islands inhabited, and with just over 200,000 on the electoral roll, they then processed 262 registered candidates for 52 seats comprising 18 constituencies, 28 political parties and 41 independents. Sadly, from my point of view, there are only 9 women candidates. But it was a logistics challenge. Many of the polling booths quite remote, and of course on islands such as Tanna, which had been adversely affected by Cyclone Pam only less than 12 months ago, people were literally walking for hours to get to the polling booth, because in Vanuatu you have to vote at the booth to which you're registered. So the Vanuatu government had declared a public holiday to allow people to get back to their particular place of registration. But people were walking for up to 2 hours, and when we started to go across the island as early as 5 o'clock in the morning, people were already out and walking towards the booths and lining up early, long queues early in the morning to vote. So taking pride in the fact that they had the right to vote even when it is non-compulsory voting in that country. Prior to the election day, we observed many great campaigns around Port Vila, and what I did enjoy was that each of the political parties seemed to have a campaign song, but they were very polite and they always waited for the other candidate to finish their rally and their song before the next candidate took over. Much more polite than perhaps we have in Australia. And also very polite on the polling booths, where it was quite acceptable for the polling clerks to bring elderly or pregnant women or disabled people to the front of the queue, even in front of people who'd been waiting many hours. The interesting part is it's 72 hours before the election there is a complete blackout, and that gave us the opportunity to meet with many candidates and party leaders, and I do appreciate the time they gave us to discuss the issues on which they campaigned and the issues they wanted to bring to the attention of their parliament. There are many high-calibre candidates. As well as the women, there are some former Director-Generals and other people, and also other candidates and other younger candidates, although the member for Longman will be disappointed to know that you have to be more than 25 years of age before you can nominate for Parliament in Vanuatu. I particularly also want to record my appreciation to the Commonwealth Secretariat, who was so professional in their support of our observation. Albert Mariner, who's well-practised and very knowledgeable in this area, Sarah Linton, who's on loan from Australia, Natricia Duncan and Tiffany Chan, who are great support to the team. It was an interesting election because, as it was described locally, it was a snap election, and I think it's a credit to the country that while 15 members of parliament had been convicted of bribery and 14 of them jailed, they called this snap election, and they then conducted it peacefully and I thought very professionally. I congratulate the Electoral Commission. One thing of interest that may be to my colleagues is the voting system, where they have a ballot book, and each candidate is on a separate piece of paper with their photograph and the name of the party, and you tear out the page of the candidate you want, put it in a sealed envelope and put that in the ballot box. And I thought a terribly efficient and effective way of handling that election. And of course they have election cards as well. I believe there is a role for Australia in supporting the Electoral Commission going forward, particularly in updating their role, which is in registration number, not alphabetical. So it does make it a bit hard at times to check the roll and perhaps cleanse it of people who are duplicates. But congratulations, Vanuatu.